Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalam Rasul al Kareem. Amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. My dear brothers and sisters, in Islam and in humanity, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today my topic is the women rights. The status of women in Islam is often the target of attacks in the secular media. The hijab or the Islamic dress is cited by many as an example of the subjugation of women under Islamic law. Before we analyze the reasoning behind the religiously mandated hijab, let us first study the status of women in societies before the advent of Islam. In the past, women were degraded and used as subjects of lust. The following examples from the history illustrate the fact that the status of women in early civilizations was very low, to the extent that they were denied basic human dignity. Babylonian civilization. The women were degraded and was denied all rights under the Babylonian law. If a man murdered a woman, instead of him being punished, his wife was put to death. Greek civilization. Greek civilization is considered the most glorious of all Asian civilizations. Under this very glorious system, women were deprived of all rights and were looked down upon. In Greek mythology, an imaginary woman called Pandora is the root cause of misfortune of human beings. The Greeks considered women to be subhuman and inferior to man. So, chastity of women was precious and women were held in high esteem. The Greeks were later overwhelmed by ego and sexual perversions. Prostitution became a regular practice amongst all classes of Greek society. Roman civilizations. When Roman civilization was at the zenith of its glory, a man even had the rights to take the life of his wife. Prostitution and nudity were common amongst the Roman. Egyptian civilization. The Egyptian considered women evil and as a sign of a devil. Pre-Islamic Arabia. Before Islam spread in Arabia, the Arabs looked down upon women, and very often when a female child was born, she was buried alive. Islam uplifted women and gave them equality and expects them to maintain their status. Islam uplifted the status of women and granted them their just rights 1400 years ago. Islam expects women to maintain their status. People usually only discuss hijab in the context of women. However, in the glorious Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first mentions hijab for men before hijab for the woman. The Quran mentioned in Surah Al-Nur, "Say to the believing men that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty. That will make for greater purity for them, and Allah is well acquainted with all that they do." Al-Quran 24 verse 30. The moment a man looks at a woman, and if any brazen or unshamed thought comes to his mind, he should lower his gaze. The next verse of Surah Al-Nur says, "And say to the believing women that they should lower their gaze and guard their modesty, that they should not display their beauty and ornaments except what must ordinarily appear of it, that they should draw veils over their bosoms and not display their beauty except to their husbands, their fathers, their husband's father, their sons, etc." Al-Quran 24 verse 31. According to Quran and Sunnah, there are basically 6 criteria for observing hijab. Extent. The first criterion is the extent of the body that should be covered. This is different for men and women. The extent of covering obligatory on the male is to cover the body at least from the navel to the knees. For women, the extent of covering obligatory is to cover the complete body except the face and the hands up to the wrist. If they wish to, they can cover even these parts of the body. Some scholars of Islam insist that the face and the hands are part of the obligatory extent of hijab. All the remaining 5 criteria are the same for men and women. The clothes worn should be loose and should not reveal the figure. The clothes worn should not be transparent such that one can see through them. The clothes worn should not be so glamorous as to attract the opposite sex. The clothes worn should not resemble that of opposite sex. The clothes worn should not resemble that of the unbelievers, i.e., they should not wear clothes that are specifically identities or samples of other religions. Complete hijab, beside the 6 criteria of clothing, also includes the moral conduct, behavior, attitude, and intention of the individual. A person only fulfilling the criteria of hijab of the clothes is observing hijab in a limited sense. Hijab of the clothes should be accompanied by hijab of the eyes, hijab of the heart, hijab of thoughts, hijab of intention. It also includes the way a person walks, the way a person talks, the way he or she behaves, etc. The reason why hijab is prescribed for women is mentioned in the Quran in the following verses of Surah Al-Ahzab. O Prophet, tell your wives and daughters and the believing women that they should cause their outer garments over their persons when abroad. That is most convenient, that they should be known as such and not molested. And Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. Al-Quran 33 verse 59. The Quran says that hijab has been prescribed for the women so that they are recognized as modest women, and this will also prevent them from being molested. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.